Greetings everyone, hey, how you doing? It's Matt Sella. Today we are doing a spoiler talk review for DuckTales Season 3, Episode 6, dubbed Astro Boy.D. Joined with me, as always, is my good friend Marc via Satellite Radio. How you doing out there, Marc?
Minasan ohayo gozaimasu. I hope that didn't offend anyone. I'm sure my accent is atrocious. Atrocious. I can't even speak English. You want me to speak Japanese? Who am I kidding? Hey, everybody. How's it going?
That was a mouthful of introduction. Boy, Marc, am I tired or what?
How tired are you?
So tired, I'm still gonna keep on going.
Well, that wasn't a very good joke. I don't even get it.
Exactly. That's how tired I am. Anyway, folks, we're here to talk about DuckTales, so no more improv for the rest of the evening. Let's just get into our review. So, Marc, why don't you let the fine folks know, what is this episode called Astro Boy.D all about?
Well, Matt, it seems Gyro, Fenton, and Huey are on a quest to take a malfunctioning Boyd back to the lab where he was created in Japan. But as Huey bonds with the robot boy, a secret from Gyro's past threatens to destroy the city and Gizmo Duck himself.
Oh, that's quite a synopsis there, Marc.
It was a very dramatic episode.
And a very entertaining one. So to kind of kick off on my positives here, I actually really enjoyed the setting of Tokyo, as they called it in this DuckTales universe. And it was really cool to kind of see Huey get a little bit more of like the brotherly type that could relate to him in a way, having Boyd be his companion in this little overseas trip. And I think it was a lot of fun. Like, this was obviously clearly an homage to Astro Boy himself, a little bit of his origin as well. In some ways, I know there's some different interpretations of Astro Boy's origin, but I'm just saying, like, overall, it really had that vibe. And it didn't feel like a cheap knockoff. It actually felt like a really good homage, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I think a lot of times, in especially Western animation, in terms of kids shows in particular, we've often see, and it's what's popular and kids would get. The reference kind of being a Dragon Ball Z reference, and maybe there was one in here. I don't want to say. I think it was kind of even a little too generic to even say it was that. But like usually a lot more in adult animation, we'll see them reference through animation itself things like Akira, things that are more mature in Japanese animation. But I mean, aside from a very funny and obvious Sailor Moon background cameo, this actually really took it. It's really funny because here's the thing. In Astro Boy and his creator, Osamu Tezuka, we see a lot of just references to his work and then old stuff like Lupin the Third and things like that. In fact, Mr. Tezuka actually was known to have taken inspiration from Karl Barks and actually struck up a friendship with him. So there's kind of a fun, comic/manga creator meets comic book creator, and both being celebrated in this episode. And I think that's really cool. And Mr. Tezuka was also a noted fan of Walt Disney himself and things like that. So it's really cool. Like a bunch of historical things are coming together in this episode to make a fun episode. And it's really par for the course with this series. And I think it's really some of its strength as a fan of just, people's works.
Yeah, no, you're right, Marc. I mean, I really do feel like this episode was not super obvious in a lot of Easter eggs and homages, to say the least, in this episode. I think it was really good at being subtle about it. And particularly speaking, like, I really enjoyed the action sequences. Like, it played some parody of what Japanese animation kind of do in their duel battles and all that. Like, there was a couple teleporting and like smearings going on as Boyd, who went full on like evil robot, was doing these crazy moves to Gizmo Duck. It was actually kind of funny too, considering how Western Gizmo Duck really is compared to this teleporting boy robot. I thought it was kind of hilarious.
No, yeah, and I think this had some of the best animation we've seen in the series, and especially for this season, start to finish. I don't think there was ever a shot or a scene that felt like, okay, they definitely used the budget for this scene, so this scene over here had to kind of suffer a little bit. It really seemed like it was just very well done, very well paced. There were maybe one or two moments where during a chase scene, where I maybe would have wanted a couple more frames in there. But other than that, it was really well done, really beautiful. There is one error, and I think I found it as opposed to Matt, but other than that, solid work.
Yeah, no, for sure. And before we move on, because I do have a couple issues that I had with the episode, generally speaking, but a couple of things, since we were kind of talking about trivia earlier, it was actually kind of really cool that the bad guy, Akita, was voiced by Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa, who is most famously known for playing Shang Tsung in the original Mortal Kombat movie and reprising his role as voice for Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 11. And the other thing we also got here was Tamlin Tomita, who I briefly looked up her history, and she actually made her American actress debut in Karate Kid 2, I believe.
Very cool. It certainly, I think, lended to some authenticity with this episode.
I 100% agree. I think they did a really good job there at recruiting the voice work there. Now, tying into my negatives, though, and I do have negatives, but they're not super glaring. At one point, Mark, I believe you asked me if there was an episode that I felt like could have been a two-parter. And for me, Astro Boy, I feel like this episode should have been a two-parter because the way the episode kind of resolved itself, or the clash that came up later on between Gearloose and Akita, it kind of felt abrupt to me. Like it was just heavily implied already that Akita was a bad scientist dude, and the whole like figuring out whether or not Boyd is an actual boy or is he just a weapon, like a lot of it kind of felt like we had to get to that point really quick, and I just wish we had more time to really let this world building kind of sink in and we could like make the discovery of what Akita was really planning instead of just straight up saying, oh yeah, no, he's just a bad guy and he just wants to destroy things, I guess. And especially true with Inspector Tezuka. I just really wish we had more time to see how those relationships came about. I guess that's ultimately what I'm getting at here. But overall, I still think it was a fun episode.
No, yeah, I would echo your sentiments. Like, I think, and in some ways, that's very much a compliment to how this episode was paced and structured, that we were left wanting more. And because, like, when watching it, I didn't necessarily even, it felt almost like a two-parter with how much scope there was to the story. But then, you realize it's just, your standard 22, 25-minute runtime. And, you're really shocked by that. But, like, this could have been a two-parter, and I would have been so happy. And I think it would have been really cool and really helped flesh out some things and not had be such an abrupt ending of, like, at the end, it was just like, and we can go see all the other historical sites we haven't seen. Leave now. It would have been, it wouldn't have to be that abrupt even, or that, it was kind of for the joke ultimately. But, like, just, yeah, it left us wanting more, and I think that can be both considered a great compliment and a bit of a negative at the same time.
Exactly. And I remember I was reading through some of the comments and someone brought up a really good point. Really, the only time we get a multi-parter episode in this series is usually with like season finales or premieres or whatnot. So it may have been a waste to do a two-parter on just this particular storyline. If they were doing like two-parters like throughout the season, maybe that's a different story. But I agree with your assessments. I think it was a compliment, but at the same time, kind of a negative, meaning like, man, I wish we had more to like really let this all sink in.
Absolutely. And then one more bit of trivia. This one for all you hardcore, old school, and also now old like myself, DuckTales fans out there.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. We're old. Gyro's design in the flashback is basically his original design, and it's really cool to see and fun. And, it's kind of funny that design is associated with Gyro being a lot younger and more optimistic and just, kind of like more of his traditional character. And I don't know. It was cute. I liked it. It was fun. I love it when they can bring back old designs, even though I love all the new ones too. And it's just good stuff overall.
That's very true, Mark. That's very true. Well, I say that'll do it for our opinions regarding this episode, but now we want to hear yours. Let us know in the comment section below, what did you think of this episode of DuckTales Season 3, Episode 6, Astro Boy? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Share your thoughts. Join the conversation. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified when new videos drop. And if you want to support me directly, please consider going to my Patreon or do a one-time donation at my Streamlabs. Links are in the description below. This is Matt Sella.
And this is Carl Marc. That was a dumb joke.
Thanking you all for tuning in.